Farmers spend thousands of dollars pumping water through irrigation systems, but unfortunately, some of that water never gets to the crop. Just because this pivot is running in circles doesn't mean that it's working properly. Welcome back to American Beef Ranch. My name is Jesse. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I just want to take a few minutes. Let's talk about these irrigation systems and how you can get your money out of them, because you spend a lot of money pumping water. Look, I know what those power bills are. Man, sometimes they really hurt. So we need these sprinklers to get the water to the ground, and we need them to do it just right. And I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of times and a lot of opportunity to have improvements in your irrigation efficiency if you just take a little bit of time to inspect and go over your sprinklers and actually do a little bit of learning about how they actually work and what it should look like. And look, I know from firsthand experience, I really struggled not having sprinklers set up properly, and that's kind of the first thing we need to talk about. First off, the sprinkler package itself has to be set up properly. You have to have a dealer or a salesman who really cares about it and gets in there, comes out, and will actually look at the pivot and figure out what you need. Otherwise, they can do things like give you the wrong sprinkler for the job, give you the regulators that are not proper for the job. They can set up the spacing of the sprinklers incorrectly. The nozzle size can be bad. The height of the sprinkler could be off. There's numerous things that could not be right. And obviously we dealt with this on American Beef Ranch. We had a pivot that was set up improperly, and it cost us a lot over 4 years. And we kept cleaning sprinklers, kept thinking, well, it's just the dirt. We know the dirt's not very good there, but when it comes down to it, that sprinkler package was never set up properly, and it cost us a lot. And I'm here to help you and to tell you, pay attention to all of the little details on these sprinkler packages, and it will save you a lot of money in the long term. Higher PSI, more horsepower, more cost. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot get around it. The higher the pressure we pump water at, the more money it costs. The other thing that it causes these pumps to wear out prematurely. So if we have to run pressure higher because we're constantly trying to put more and more water out, but we're not getting that water to the ground properly, it's only going to cause us more problems. We're always going to wonder why, wow, I really am trying to pour the water to this, but I just am not being able to make any gains. And so what you're going to do is you're going to crank up these pumps and run them as hard as you can. And these pumps already live a really hard life. Like, for example, on our farm, these pumps are turned on for 5.5 months straight and do not shut off. So that is a lot of time. And over time, if we're having to work at higher pressures to meet the needs of a poor sprinkler package, we're costing ourselves more money and a lot more wear on the impeller shaft. It's another thing to consider why you want your irrigation systems dialed into the proper pressure. That way you're not overloading these pumps, wearing them out, and costing you a lot more money on that electricity bill. This sprinkler right here is a perfect example of where high pressure causes a lot of problems and costs a lot of water not to get to the ground. So this is a 20-pound regulator, which is way too high for modern irrigation. We should not be using 20-pound regulators, and most of the best sprinkler techs will agree with that. This also, with this old school sprinkler design here, the combination of the two cause a lot of turbulence and have a lot of force in the water. That force and turbulence adds air into the stream, and then with the way that the water is dispersed on this plate, creates a lot of mist. Now that mist is a lot more susceptible to drift and evaporation because it's finer water particles. Also, another thing to consider, if there's a lot of mist coming off of this sprinkler, but it's getting just to the canopy of the crop, it's not getting in down to the soil. So a lot of times you could say you could put a 1/2-inch application of water down, but really only half of that is actually getting down to the soil because you're misting off the rest of it. So this is a second example of where high pressure is just not the right tool for the job. The extra pressure taken here is really hurting our water efficiency, and it's causing us to lose more water to evaporation, to a drift, and just in general not applying the water as good as we can. And so in the end, we've got to do better than this. Improperly set up packages using excessive pressure cost you twice. First, they cost you at the pump because you've got to pump harder, you've got to pump more, that costs you more money. But secondly, all that water that's coming out of those sprinklers that are improperly designed, efficiency is lowered greatly. And you can see how the combination of those two can create a huge amount of water inefficiency. In the West, and honestly in any part of the world where we irrigate, or really the entire world, we're constantly faced with the challenge of how to better use water. And if we continue to use sprinklers that are not right for the job, excessive pressure, and improperly designed sprinkler packages, we will continue to have water problems. If we want to, as a whole, increase our sustainability, having the proper sprinklers and the proper setup is the first and easiest step. Not to mention that it actually helps your pocket, because you get your money's worth for when you actually spend money on your farm. So for us at American Beef Ranch, instead of working on higher pressure, more volume, and more of everything, what we're focused on is efficiency and exacting practices, putting the sprinklers exactly where they need to be, operating them at the right pressure, and using the best sprinkler for our use. And for us, that's the Comet KPT Precision Twister Sprinkler and the KPR regulators. And then if we do have an end gun on a pivot, we're going to choose a Comet end gun, because we feel for us, these regulators and sprinklers put a water pattern to the ground better than the competition. From what we've seen, we've been able to compare them throughout this summer, and then we've been able to have this package put on when we've been able to see the results of what is possible with these sprinklers. I noticed throughout the summer, as we got down to the end of the summer, this pivot needed less water. After it had corrected the dry strips that you see in the drone footage, we were able to reduce waterings. I was able to shut this pivot off a couple of times toward the end of the season because I just didn't need the water. We had plenty in the soil. And so for us, we're working on exacting our pump station and improving it so that it's more efficient and runs at the proper pressure. We're working on designing our sprinkler packages and entire pivot systems around this sprinkler design so that we can get the water to the ground in the best shape possible. The right size drop, not too big, but not too small either, so that it doesn't drift away. And these sprinklers have an awesome pattern, and they allow us to have far less aspiration, so we know that we are getting a lot more of that water to the ground, so we're not spending time and money worried about water drifting off, cranking up our pumps too high, or any of those other problems that may be costing you a lot of money on your irrigation system. So take the time to consider all the factors in your irrigation systems. Are your pumps working where they should be and efficiently? Are your sprinklers set up properly? Are you using a modern high efficiency pivot sprinkler? Are you stuck using a design that's 40 years old and is still sold for no particular reason at all? Anyway guys, I'm Jesse with American Beef Ranch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.